they believe that this system will hold up tight to Francine. But again, this is the Gulf. That's the water right there. This is what we've been waiting for here through the... Woo.
You ever want to see what storm surge looks like in real time? This is what it looks like in real time. If you look right here behind me, this is Bayou Lafourche, basically coming onto Highway 1, and it's probably going to keep doing this.
I don't know if you can really experience this, but the car is shaking in just such a tremendous way, and it has been doing that. It's almost like as if it's become more powerful.
This is by far the worst it's been right now. I don't know what these wind speeds are, but they are not anything I've experienced, and I've been through a lot of storms.
It is definitely picking up. You can definitely feel it.
Water is building up on Lakeshore Drive. It has been closed down for much of the day, and the water keeps getting deeper and deeper here, as you can see. There is absolutely nobody out here tonight. Police are keeping everyone away from Lakeshore Drive, and it's a good idea to stay in as these winds are only going to pick up.
And you can see Francine just ripped through here, tore open the roof, that corrugated metal like a tin can, literally peeling it back, and then this brick wall here on its side. Just take a look at this. I mean, this is a brick wall that was toppled over by the storm, and you can see the damage inside.
Take a look at what Genoa looks like. It's about ankle deep here. We've been standing here for about a half hour. We haven't noticed the water going down, but as you turn down and start looking at South Genoa, take a look at that Jeep. That water is just flirting with that door, and that water hasn't come down.
You were telling me you're on your way to some properties here, and unfortunately your vehicle can't make it through the floodwaters.
Yeah, well, this is a smart car, so, I think I'm at a deficiency. But, I think that just being a little patient is a part of the rigors of living in New Orleans. You got to kind of be strong and deal with the trauma as it comes. And I, as a New Orleanian, that's what I do.
Been checking in with you over the last couple of hours, and every time we've talked to you, you said the water has not yet receded on Chef Highway. How's it looking now?
Meg, I've got some good news for you. It only took till about 2 a.m., but finally the water is receding off Chef Highway. But I'll tell you, it's not due to any act of nature. It's not due to the Sewage and Water Board's drainage system finally kicking in or whatever you may have. It's due to this guy, Mike. I'm going to let my photographer zoom in there. He comes out here with a shovel and actually clears out the catch basins along Chef Highway. And within about an hour or so after he clears them out, the water starts to recede.
It started to come in and seep in through the house in all different directions. And at that point, it was just kind of all hands on deck and just had to just get the water out by any means necessary.
Cole, let's walk around and show some of this a little bit. I mean, you guys have been at it for how long now? Since 8:30, we've been bucketing,
and
the water was all the way up past the crown molding, and we've just been bucketing nonstop.
Our story started with a simple tip. It led to a federal investigation launched after our reports about the mayor's time outside the office. We received this picture last month. The source took it in July 2022. The mayor and Officer Jeffrey Vappy sitting at the bar of the steakhouse Doris Metropolitan. Both have filled glasses of wine. Vappy has his hand on his glass. At the same time the source took this picture, NOPD records show Vappy was on the clock being paid by taxpayers. This picture goes to the heart of the questions we've been asking and the heart of the Fed's investigation into the mayor and Vappy.
This to me is, I think, an indication that the investigation is winding down.
The subpoena asks us to hand over all outside the office reports where we mention Officer Jeffrey Vappy. Sources with knowledge of the interviews federal investigators conducted say FBI agents have asked questions about Vappy and Cantrell, their relationship, and the time the two have spent together.
We've got some breaking news right now just in from federal court downtown New Orleans. A federal grand jury handing up an indictment against former New Orleans police officer Jeffrey Vappy.
The big name here obviously is the mayor, who is not in any way charged today. So the question would be, is she going to face charges sometime in the future? That's been the question hanging over her for a couple of years.
So the fact that Vappy just retired from the NOPD about 2 weeks ago now, does that play into this? I mean, could his attorney have been given a heads up, look, this indictment is coming, we're going to give you an opportunity to retire so you could potentially retain your pension, your benefits, and maybe you cooperate with us a little bit?
This is not a surprise to him or his attorney. him making that decision to retire and how that impacts his benefits, I agree with you. Whether or not he cooperates or not, that's kind of, I think, is going to be a separate standalone issue.
Vappy retired recently after a nearly 3-decade career with the NOPD. Obviously, the investigation by federal prosecutors was underway at that time. And so, as we speak right now, his attorney is waiting to find out exactly what federal charges he faces. John.
Vappy's wife says her then husband confirmed to her that he was involved in an adulterous affair with Cantrell. But in interviews, both Vappy and Cantrell repeatedly denied any relationship.
So as it relates to my professional relationship with Officer Vappy, that's where it is. It's strictly professional.
Again. Is there a personal relationship? No. Thank you. Can you describe the relationship that you have with your protectee? Again. Professional.
In case people are just joining us, the breaking news at this hour, we are just literally looking through the papers right now. This grand jury indictment against former NOPD officer Jeffrey Vappy, who was part of Mayor Cantrell's security team. So 7 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of false statements. It was part of the scheme and artifice to defraud that beginning not later than about November of 2021, Vappy and public official 1 carried on a personal romantic relationship, which Vappy attempted to disguise by making his interactions with public official 1 appear to relate to Vappy's duties and responsibilities as a member of the Executive Protection Unit assigned to provide personal protection to public official 1. Vappy and public official 1 exchanged personal and romantic messages and photographs via text message, voice message, and WhatsApp, a secure end-to-end encrypted instant messaging application. They allegedly deleted these messages. Then there were multiple searches of the mayor of Nashville, the former mayor of Nashville, and a member of her security detail, which you'll remember that mayor stepped down after it was discovered she was having an affair with a member of her security detail. After a local news media outlet broadcast additional reports about Vappy's work on the Executive Protection Unit and relationship with public official 1, Vappy conducted multiple online searches concerning a member of the news media who reported about Vappy, including, quote, "Where does member of news media live?"
Oh,
wow.
It's a little chilling.
He denied having an affair with public official 1, who obviously news reports are indicating it's Mayor Cantrell, and he lied about that in the text message, which contains the photograph, romantic in nature, in addition to the other items that are specifically listed in the indictment, show that there was an affair. So I'm not sure what he was thinking in giving an interview to the FBI where he was going to, assuming that to be true, provide a completely false statement to the FBI.
What is that? Helium? Nitrous.
Steps away from popular restaurants near the fairgrounds, our cameras captured multiple nitrous deals.
3 for 20, man, pictures.
People passing nitrous like party favors, often in exchange for cash.
Hey man, what you got?
Nitrous.
Oh yeah?
Laughing gas, yeah.
How much is it?
3 for 20.
3 for 20?
Yeah.
All right.
Look out for it.
Wait, that's not legal, right?
I mean, it depends how you look at it.
New Orleans police say no matter how you look at it, selling nitrous oxide like this is illegal. But just months ago, stores across the state legally sold large canisters of the gas wrapped in colorful cartoon logos with on-demand gratification.
It hits just like crack cocaine hits. It's instant, it's right there, and then it's gone.
With candy-like flavors, blueberry mango, vanilla cupcake, watermelon lemonade.
You continuously want that high.
Users say it brings up a brief but fleeting euphoria.
Just wasting it away, and it's just gone as fast as you can spend it.
Medical professionals have used the gas safely in clinical settings for more than 250 years.
The unfortunate thing is, for the exact number of centuries that it's been used, it's also been abused.
Greg Combo found a horde of empty nitrous oxide tanks he says his daughter accumulated over just a few weeks last year.
This is $1,800 worth of product right here.
People get a euphoric high. That's why they do it.
Frequent nitrous oxide users risk potentially fatal or life-altering consequences.
It can start as simple as something called neuropathy in their like tingling sensations in their extremities, their arms and legs, and difficulty walking, to the point where people sometimes become bedbound.
Seeing her carted off in an ambulance was a father's worst nightmare. We didn't even know if she was ever going to walk again.
I'm here in the hospital because I am paralyzed. I can't walk because I was doing whippets, which is nitrous oxide.
Jenna Campbell says she did whippets for years in small doses before these large nitrous canisters started showing up on Louisiana shelves.
They started making the tanks, so I think that's whenever things changed. It's heavily addictive. I mean, I was addicted to it. I couldn't stop doing it.
The biggest impediment to people using in the old days was the access to cartridges and how expensive it was.
He was hooked up to nitrous and no oxygen. I thought at first he was joking, and so I called his name, and immediately how his body looked, I knew that there is no return.
Ashley Broha found her fiance, who we're not identifying, dead, hooked to a nitrous oxide tank like this. An autopsy by the East Baton Rouge Parish coroner last fall determined he died due to asphyxia because of nitrous oxide poisoning, just months before they were set to be married.
And it all went away in a day.
Determined to reveal the reality of nitrous oxide tanks like these, Broha joined Campbell and her father at the state capitol in March.
Most people think of a whippet as a little CO2 size cartridge that can fit in your pocket. Industrial size canisters like that one is on the shelves at gas stations and smoke shops all around Louisiana.
Legislators in the Criminal Justice Committee were floored to find out the known inhalant has easy access under state law.
To be quite honest, I had no knowledge of the severity of this product.
No one up there knew about and how dangerous it was.
Fighting back tears, Ashley Broha urged lawmakers to pass the legislation authored by Kenner Representatives Joe Stagney and Debbie Villio as a result of our reporting.
My best friend, a son, an uncle, and friend to so many passed away, being able to order a nitrous tank online with just a click of a button.
We know enough people that have been hurt and injured by this, and you can't exploit that loophole for profit at the expense of hurting our citizens.
I don't want someone else to have to go through my pain, his family's pain. It's not a good feeling to live with.
On the heels of that heartbreaking testimony, coupled with the exposure of illegal nitrous sales across Louisiana, lawmakers unanimously passed the nation's first legislation banning the retail sale of nitrous oxide.
Debbie and I first saw some reports on Fox 8 News, the nitrous oxide problem that we're having. It's a growing, an emerging epidemic, at least in South Louisiana, and we believe all throughout the state.
This is huge. I hope they lose $1 million and go out of business tomorrow. I really do. This product was put on the street specifically to poison kids, but we got it done today.
Just a month after the new law took effect in August, undercover police detectives found some smoke shops still selling nitrous oxide.
So nitrous oxide, 375 grams on the back.
Detectives found thousands of dollars worth of nitrous stashed in the back of the store.
Y'all shouldn't even have that in your store. It's been over a month since the new law came out.
With the new law, the state will remain vigilant against those supplying a high, as doctors urge those still abusing nitrous to consider the impacts.
If blood vessels leave your heart, they get smaller and smaller. You can deoxygenate over time. This is definitely something that if you do recreationally over a long period of time consistently, you will get the ill effects of it, and we know that.
Despite those risks, the dangerous drug can still be found beyond the frat parties on college campuses and hovering between the boundaries of festivals. Though in Louisiana, it's now far more difficult
You got a shot you're looking for?
to find a supply.
We have very strong rotation. If you live in Pearl River, you need to be in your safe place. When I say Pearl River, I'm talking about the town Pearl River. You need to be in your safe place right now.
And now we're looking at real time with a tornado on the ground near Pearl River.
We just got on the scene here in Slidell. Obviously a lot of damage to show you. Sir, you were saying the whole building, nobody got hurt here though, right?
Got hurt. No ma'am, nobody got hurt. Everybody's safe, thank God.
Were y'all inside when it happened?
All inside the building, yes ma'am.
What did it sound like?
Big boom. And then the windows blew in, and come look outside and the building was gone.
Before he could say tornado, I knew from school, I ran and jumped in the tub. And I said, come on, get in the tub, get in the tub. And you could just hear, when I heard that tree coming down, I really got scared. On the top, everything is really damaged. Roof caved in, everything is pretty much flooded.
Cars have been smashed by the trees falling down here. I see at least 3 vehicles here, a couple more over here. There's a fence, it looks like, that came down here.
I knew something wasn't right, so I ran into his room and jumped on top of him and said, it's a tornado. I screamed, and it happened really fast. My car's destroyed. Everything I've worked my whole life for is gone.
There's 2 homes that have significant roof damage. You can sort of see it through the tree line here, and we can't get back there right now because there is a massive power line draped across the only entrance to this portion of the subdivision.
And then you look at all the trees that got snapped off right there in a chunk of a house in the backyard over there. It was intense for a few seconds. Thank you very much for the great coverage you guys did on this storm. And no commercial breaks. You guys blow that off to bring us the news we need constantly. Thank you.
You guys got anything to say if you're planning on pleading guilty today, Todd?
Former NOPD Sergeant Todd Murrow didn't have anything to say while walking into federal court today with his attorney Billy Gibbons. But once inside Judge Jay Zaney's courtroom, Murrow admitted to defrauding taxpayers by claiming to work for the NOPD while he was actually racing cars in the West Bank, and by claiming to work NOPD duty and off-duty detail shifts at the same time.
Whenever you're supposed to be in one place and it can be proved that you're in the other place and you're still charging money for both, pretty strong case against you.
The government's case closely mirrored Fox 8's series of attention to the details investigations, and one count Murrow pleaded guilty to involved undercover video taken by Fox 8. That video from October 23, 2021, showed while Murrow claimed to work a 12-hour shift patrolling the fairgrounds neighborhood, he actually spent most of the day at home. Our camera, stationed on a public street, found Murrow walking his dog, moving his personal car, taking out the trash, and running an errand in his personal vehicle, all while being paid by taxpayers. Our investigations also showed many occasions when Murrow claimed to work when he was actually racing cars in the West Bank. January 23, 2021, Murrow claimed to work a 12 hours detail shift in the fairgrounds neighborhood, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. But results show Murrow raced in the West Bank that day, driving in 3 races, in the morning at 9:40 and 11:35, and at 2:45 in the afternoon, all during his fairgrounds area detail shift. In fact, that day, the National Auto Sport Association NOLA event streamed a live awards video on Facebook. There's Murrow handing out awards for the 2020 season, even giving himself one.
First place, Todd Murrow. Thank you.
The day after our first report aired in November 2021, Murrow submitted payroll adjustment forms to correct what he called clerical errors dating as far back as 2017. He retired just weeks later in December of 2021. Now he's pleading guilty to federal charges, admitting to defrauding the NOPD.
With each play. Under the lights, on a crisp fall evening, the Willow Lions prepare for one of their biggest rivalries, taking on the Benjamin Franklin Falcons. For Jake Guichet, the Lions quarterback, this matchup is about more than bragging rights.
I mean, it feels great just to be out here with my guys, really just like having fun, one last ride.
Though Guichet may have a few more rides in him, already receiving offers to play in college.
I'm very excited. I know like my parents are thrilled about him.
The high school senior has a keen awareness. The same risk that's unfolding a potential future in the game could also crumble his prospects. It's why he's willing to wear a Guardian cap, a soft cover that goes over the helmet.
Any little thing can help in this game for sure.
Already in the NFL, Guardian caps are mandatory for nearly every player in practice, and some even wear the cap branded with logos on the field during games. It's a device the NFL's chief medical officer, Dr. Alan Sills, calls an unqualified success, claiming during a media briefing that the Caps have driven a significant reduction of concussions in practices, approximately 50% over the last 2 preseasons.
For them to see the value in it and be willing to share that has been huge for us. That's a huge stamp of validation.
Erin Hansen is the CEO of Guardian Sports. In 2010, she and her husband released the Guardian Cap, initially in a bid to provide additional protection to the youngest players.
The average high school lineman can take up to 1,000 hits to the head in a 3-month season. Everyone wants to talk about that one big hit, that one big concussion. It's not that. It's the accumulation of all of those non-concussive hits over a player's career.
That's exactly why Coach J.J. Smith, head coach of the Lions, was thrilled when his team received a gift of 70 Guardian Caps.
Just another layer of security. Seems like it doesn't hurt, just to lessen the impact.
But according to the LHSAA, the organization that regulates high school sports in Louisiana, Willow's extra layer is only okay to wear if the manufacturer of their helmets approves the device.
We're not going to take responsibility or liability for them. You're on your own to use them.
In a phone call with Eddie Bonine, the executive director of the LHSAA, he explains his organization is simply following the National Federation of State High School Associations, or NFHS's guidelines. However, a letter the NFHS Rules Review Committee chair sent to the makers of Guardian Caps tells a different story. The letter reads, "The permissive use of the Guardian Cap product is not a violation of NFHS football rules."
The NFHS, the National Federation of High School Sports, takes a neutral stance. They take a neutral stance and permit it for games and practices. So does Pop Warner. So does the NCAA.
So use them. We're just saying check with the vendor because of certification, because we don't pay for recertification for helmets. That's expensive cost.
But Rydell, the manufacturer of Willow's Speedflex helmets, won't approve Guardian Caps. Bonine says because of that, if Willow uses the caps, it would prevent them from recertifying their helmets, which has to happen every 2 years. That would mean the school would have to purchase all new helmets every other year. Hansen thinks the LHSAA is punting a decision on Guardian Caps to helmet makers, despite evidence the devices won't impede helmet safety.
We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in testing. We've proved that we don't cause helmets to fail the certification for which they, the standard for which they were certified.
She points to the NFL, where players wear the caps on the field this season, but Bonine argues comparing these players to children isn't the same.
You're not comparing apples to apples to apples. Number one, professional football is a professional sport, and those athletes are being paid millions of dollars, and the NFL owners are protecting their investment in their player personnel, number one.
The high school kids still have futures, and that's an investment worth protecting. Would you agree with that?
I completely agree, dude, but I'm not going to sit here in this chair and decide on that unilaterally.
Bonine says in order to make any changes to state rules, a high school principal would need to request the change, and only then could it be considered during the organization's annual commission in January. Before the start of the 2024 season, The Athletic polled more than 100 NFL players on a variety of topics. NFL senior writer Larry Holder explains this season Guardian Caps got a starting spot in the discussion.
They're not denying the safety element. They know it's safer, and there's a reason why the NFL said, hey, training camp, we're going to have every player outside of quarterback, kicker, and punter wear these Guardian caps.
If you use that Guardian cap on that helmet, then your certification on that helmet is invalid. Okay?
Does that make sense to you?
What makes sense to me?
Does that make sense to you that the piece of fabric would invalidate the hard shell helmet's certification?
I have no opinion on that.
It goes against exactly what the NFL is trying to tout. Please wear it in a game if you feel like you want to, because we want you to feel as safe as possible. And these are grown men who can make their own decisions and are making millions and millions of dollars. We're talking about teenagers who, if you want to protect them, why wouldn't you allow them to be protected?
Meanwhile, Guichet thinks blocking the extra padding simply doesn't make sense, and anything that might keep him passing to his friends on the field is worth the effort.
I can't really see any way that it could really hurt the players in any way. So it's great to look out and see everybody wearing them and knowing that they have that extra protection.
7 yeas, no nays, and we made history here today, hopefully. Thank you.
In the span
of just 4 months, 2 different groups of local leaders voted to hold a religious nonprofit accountable.
They've abused our resources, and today we take some of our resources back.
Years of complaints about living conditions in apartments the nonprofit owned led to this point.
I went 2 years without an air conditioner. We got the rat dookie up in the, can't cook and do nothing.
Tenants say management at the Willows, Park Fontaine, and Belmont apartments did little to help.
Constantly calling them, emailing them, and everything, and they're not doing anything.
Local leaders said they were horrified by what they saw in our Fox 8 Defenders investigations.
I got to sleep way over there where it's dry at.
How long has it been like this?
3 months.
And you've complained to the office?
Every day, crying like I'm doing now.
Showing up in person at one complex.
The oven will catch on fire if you try to turn it on.
What?
Yeah, it's an electrical stove, but it's so jacked up.
Brought one Jefferson Parish councilwoman to tears.
I grew up poor, so I know what it feels like to feel like you can't be seen or heard. That guy can't fight for himself, you know. So, anyway, I'm sorry.
Just weeks after Arita Bohannon toured the Belmont apartments in Metairie, she drafted a proposal allowing the council to revoke the tax-exempt status of Global Ministries Foundation. Dr. Richard Hamlet runs it.
Welcome to all of our guests and visitors today.
When it came time for the council to vote, Bohannon first documented her trip to the Belmont.
I was shocked and appalled when he explained to me that his 3 children who live in these conditions with him, he would set his alarm to wake up early before they would get up so that he could remove any rodents that they had caught the night before. The gentleman that I met with cannot have his children bathe in his apartment because he hasn't had hot water in over a year.
The council then voted unanimously to force the nonprofit to pay taxes.
Let this be a warning to the people who shirk their responsibility, that we're not going to tolerate it, and this is a great first step.
A few months later, the New Orleans City Council took the same steps for the Willows in New Orleans East and Park Fontaine in Algiers.
We don't want anyone living in those type of horrific conditions.
The city has really been at the mercy of property owners when it came to this.
How do you do that to people? And they were clearly aware of all the different things that were wrong. They're just fine with it and just there to collect the money. And so if that's what you're about, you don't get to have any type of benefits from the city of New Orleans.
The charges against Stacey Ludlow and Ricky Young mirror what we found in our series of swiped investigations. The St. Tammany Parish District Attorney charged the two with embezzling more than $250,000 from the town. As the former finance director for Abita Springs, we found many examples of Ludlow spending money on seemingly personal items. All totaled in less than 2 years, Stacey Ludlow charged almost $105,000 to her public credit card. We reviewed the statements with Dillard political analyst Dr. Robert Collins, who says most of the charges appear to be personal.
Clothes, Land's End, Target, European Wax Center. Yeah, I don't know, Party City.
And the wine. In less than 2 years from Total Wine, nearly $1,700. That includes May 31st of last year, 2 separate charges, $241, then $155. The next day, back at Total Wine for a $60 charge. And the day after that, back again, $49. $7,500 at DoorDash alone. The Amazon charges total more than $26,000. Sam's Club $10,000. Walmart nearly $5,000. Target $4,000.
How do you think you're going to get away with this? How do you think that nobody in the little town of Abita Springs is not going to look at this and say, well, why is this on my credit card?
My Pillow looks like a large expenditure to My Pillow. Tobacco store. I don't know what sort of government business you're doing in a tobacco store. EdenFantasies.com. I don't want to even know what that was for.
Here's the answer. Back in December of 2022, Ludlow charged $97 on her public credit card at Eden Fantasies. According to an online search, it's an online sex toy shop.
Yeah, that should have raised all sorts of red flags.
The town believes, along with $80,000 in unauthorized charges, Ludlow also used money collected from the town as her personal piggy bank. It claims Ludlow linked the town's Venmo to her personal Venmo and siphoned $41,000 raised through town functions into her own account. Ludlow is now charged with theft of over $25,000, money laundering over $100,000, and malfeasance in office. As for Young, he's accused of stealing over $25,000 in town funds. Our stories show Young also possibly making personal charges on public credit cards. In January of last year, the mayor's credit card shows 2 purchases from eBay, totaling nearly $2,600. Receipts show someone ordered tires and rims for a car on the mayor's car. The items delivered to Ricky Young's home address. The town fired both Young and Ludlow last year and later filed lawsuits against both, aiming to recover some of that money. But now the two could be facing time behind bars, as the North Shore District Attorney has issued warrants for their arrest.
There were 3 separate accidents in the southbound direction between the 18 and 20 mile markers, and so they have shut down the causeway.
Hey, Robin, Lucy, good morning. It's a very active scene here at the foot of the causeway. I'm going to go ahead and give you a look outside. So you can see this fog. The causeway very much a mess right now. We're hearing multiple sirens, seeing state police rushing down causeway approach here, and we have some people even getting out of their cars trying to control traffic because those first responders are having difficulty getting up on the bridge.
Welcome back. We have a lot to tell you about involving this major wreck on the causeway.
This is new video here. You can see the extent of this wreckage as crews are there on the scene. We are joined now by the general manager of the causeway, Carlton Dufourchot, on the phone. Carlton, what do you know so far? We're looking at some video of this wreck here.
Actually, it happened less than an hour ago.
Wow.
All started about 8:32, 8:34. We got the first calls of a crash. About 10 minutes before then, we started to get fog on the bridge. It had fog early in this morning, but it started to get very dense rolling in. At the moment, we've got multiple crashes on the bridge. We do have injuries. We're still assessing it. I can tell you that 2 of my own guys, one of my police officers, one of our maintenance guys responding, they were rear-ended while they were out there trying to help folks.
They're reporting approximately 40 to 50 vehicles involved in these pileups that we know are spanning across both ends of the bridge.
You have a series of accidents with cars going through that chain reaction, one being a causeway police. He is fine, but his car is not. He got sandwiched by an 18-wheeler. And then behind that, there are small accidents all the way up to my car.
Dozens of vehicles, perhaps as many as 50, piled into each other at 6 different locations on the causeway during the heart of the morning rush hour. 18-wheeler driver Irene Goddard said she made it about halfway across the southbound span when the fog settled in, forcing her to stop.
I see some brake lights. I saw, oh no. So I real quick pressed on my brakes, and behind me I hear pop, and I see another 18-wheeler that's back there, and he was not able to stop quickly.
Goddard escaped injury, but she and other drivers who became stranded in 6 different locations on both spans of the causeway saw plenty of EMS activity. St. Tammany Fire District 4 says 33 people were transported to St. Tammany Hospital, Lakeview, and East Jefferson.
I remember before I got on the bridge, specifically passing that 18-wheeler, and then as we were driving thinking, wow, it's very foggy. I can't believe there's not some sort of convoy like they normally do.
Some of the passengers on this boat headed out of Empire had never met until this day. They now share a deep spiritual connection. A 20-minute trip brings them to their destination.
This is Lemon Tree Mound, is what we call it.
Rosina Philippe is part of a Native American tribe that has lived in what is now Plaquemines Parish for centuries. The Atakaba Ishak Shawasha lived off the land.
There were lemon trees to be found here growing. We didn't plant them, but we found them growing here.
How the trees got here is a mystery.
Maybe a storm might have uprooted trees and they found perches here and grew.
Members of the tribe were mound builders. This island, now broken in pieces, once would have towered over the surrounding landscape.
When the river was flooded, the people sought sanctuary, on the mounds.
What did this place mean to your people?
Well, it represents a place of longevity.
But like much of South Louisiana, the real estate around the Lemon Tree Mound mostly disappeared as man levied the river and altered the landscape.
Our tribe has lost so much land, and we're losing it just about every day.
A few years ago, the Coalition to Restore Coastal Louisiana began working with the tribe to protect the shoreline here using recycled oyster shells. That led to a search for whoever held legal title to the land. Turns out a parishioner had willed the Lemon Tree Mound to St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Lakeview in the 1980s. The former rector set out on a mission to learn the history of the land. And recently, the church gave it back.
This is a win, I think, for everybody. I think the church is happy about it. Obviously, the tribe is happy about it. And it is doing the right thing.
What does it mean to get it back?
Woo!
We went along on that boat ride with tribal members and a couple of St. Paul's parish leaders, including Miriam Swift.
Well, it feels like a very small thing. I'm glad it feels significant to you because it feels like the very least we could do.
Swift says the church never hesitated once it knew the story of the land.
We're filled with gratitude, first of all, and we're rejoicing to have the land returned to the tribe. It's a rematriation. So they may think it's a little thing, but to us, it's one of the best things that the church, could ever have done. I'm pretty sure, these are the ones that we planted.
Rosina Philippe says the tribe will pass on this act of generosity to future generations in the tribe's oral history.
We have documentation of it also. So this, you're not part of us, part of our history.
It's amazing.
Alexi and Cruz Cherami say it may be one of the only times they'll see their little boy mobile, standing on his own 2 feet.
We know what's going to happen in the end.
The parents say time is not on their side for Yura or their older son, Kai.
He used to be able to crawl, eat on his own. He was standing up on his own, preparing to walk, and then suddenly stopped doing that.
At 18 months old,
he was at that point severely behind his peers, and so we definitely could tell that at that point something was going on.
Genetic testing proved what was behind Kai's weakness: infantile neuroaxonal dystrophy, or INAD, a rare genetic disorder of the body's nervous system.
Life expectancy is 5 to 10 years. You imagine this whole future, and just in that moment, everything is completely shattered.
INAD is caused by defective genes passed on by both mom and dad.
What happens is that the transportation, I guess you could say, of fats or lipids in our body is disrupted. And because of that, the nerves are affected. It not only affects just those long nerves, but also affects your cognition, your thinking and development.
It starts with regression, so whatever skills they do have at that time, they slowly lose. Eventually, no physical movement, loss of all mental abilities. At that time, I was also 38 weeks pregnant with his brother Yura, so we knew at that point that we might have 2.
When Yura was 2 weeks old, doctors told them he too has the terminal disorder.
There's really no words to express how that feels.
Yura hasn't shown any symptoms yet, but Kai now requires round-the-clock care. Despite it all, Kai's personality still shines through.
He is still able to look at people and recognize them and smile.
Kai motivates his parents to keep going. Only about 150 kids worldwide are affected. The Cheramis say they've exhausted all of their tears. Now they're taking a different approach.
We're not trying to be so emotional because we're trying to give them the best lives they can have.
It honestly It hits your heart a little bit, seeing friends' children doing what they'll never be able to.
But they're resolute in their strength.
I do 100% believe that we were meant to be their parents.
They cherish every single moment.
Our outlook on life, I think, has definitely changed.
And make as many memories as possible.
We definitely understand how every day is not promised.
They know it's a battle against time, but right now, Kai and Yura are surrounded by hope.
I know.
As their parents keep love alive.